My sister told me the bruise on her arm was from the door, and I believed her until I saw the same door leave a bruise on Christmas. He grabbed her at the table, right there, in front of the turkey and the candles and the family who'd spent 3 years pretending he was harmless. Todd married my sister when she was 24. He was charming in the way that makes your stomach hurt when you think about it later. Big laugh, firm handshake, remembered everyone's birthday, called my mother mom by the second visit. My parents loved him, my brother liked him. I thought something was off, but I couldn't name it, so I swallowed it and smiled at their engagement photos like everyone else. The jokes started year 1. Todd had quit his job to start a company that never launched, then another company, then a third. My brother was finishing law school, and Todd couldn't let a single family dinner pass without mentioning it. Must be nice having your life figured out at 23. Or, maybe I should just let your brother run things since he's clearly the golden child. Everyone would laugh uncomfortably, and my sister would touch his arm and change the subject. For 3 years I watched my brother shrink at these dinners. He'd go quiet when Todd started. He'd stare at his plate. After one Thanksgiving, he told me privately he'd started dreading family events. I said I was sorry. I didn't do anything else. That's the part that eats me alive. Last Christmas, Todd made the comment that broke me. My brother had just been accepted to a top firm. We were toasting. Todd raised his glass and said, "To the family genius. The rest of us are just here for the food, right?" That forced laugh from the table. My mother's eyes darting to my sister. I didn't yell. I didn't stand up. I just looked at him and said, very calmly, "You are the most insecure person at this table, and the fact that you take it out on a kid 10 years younger than you every time we eat together is pathetic." The room went dead. Todd's glass stopped halfway to his mouth. My sister's face went white. My father looked at his plate like it contained instructions he couldn't read. Todd set his glass down, smiled, said, "Wow, someone's having a bad day." Then, he picked up his fork and kept eating. Nobody said a word for the rest of the meal. My sister pulled me into the hallway afterward. She was shaking. She said, "Why would you do that?" I said, "Because nobody else would." She said, "You just made my life so much harder." I asked what she meant. She looked at the floor and said, "You don't understand what he's like when we're alone." My chest went hollow. I called my mother that night. She was quiet for a long time. Then she said, "We know." I said, "What do you mean you know?" She said my sister had told her 2 years ago that Todd had controlling tendencies, that he monitored her phone, that he screamed at her over small things, that she was scared but begged my mother not to intervene because it would make things worse. My parents had been walking on eggshells around him ever since. Every forced laugh at his jokes, every insistence that I apologize, every plea to keep the peace. It was never about Todd's feelings. It was about my sister's safety. 3 days after Christmas, Todd went drinking. He came home and destroyed their kitchen, threw plates, smashed a picture frame, screamed that my sister's family had humiliated him, and she'd done nothing to stop it. She locked herself in the bathroom and called my parents at 2 a.m. She's been at their house since. She barely talks. She sleeps 14 hours a day. When I went to see her, she looked at me with hollow eyes and said, "If you had just apologized, none of this would have happened." I sat next to her on our parents' couch and said, "He didn't break those plates because I called him insecure. He broke them because he is. And he's been breaking you for 3 years and calling it love." She started crying. Not the polite kind. The kind that shakes your whole body and sounds like something being pulled out by the roots. My brother showed up an hour later with blankets and her favorite ice cream. He sat on the floor and didn't say a word. Just stayed. The 4 of us sat in that living room until midnight. Nobody talked about Todd. Nobody talked about Christmas. My mother made tea. My father checked the locks twice. When I left, my sister grabbed my wrist. She said, "I'm not going back." I said, "Good." She said, "I mean it this time." I said, "I know. Because this time you're not alone." She let go. I walked to my car and sat in the driveway for 10 minutes breathing. 3 years of watching. One sentence at Christmas dinner, and the whole thing cracked open. I didn't ruin Thanksgiving. I didn't ruin Christmas. The man inside that marriage did. I just said it out loud while everyone else was still chewing.